Hey everyone, welcome to the E2 Effective Elders podcast. E2 is devoted to coaching your elder team to win by providing biblical and practical resources in authentic relationships. E2 wants nothing more than to equip you to move God's kingdom forward in the place you're serving Jesus. Visit us at e2elders.org and please share this good word with others.
Hey everybody, thanks for joining us at our E2 podcast. We are grateful to CDF Capital, as always, for their investment in elders across the country and around the world. They've made an enormous difference in the ministry of E2. Hey, Dr. Jim, good to see you again. How are you?
Doing well.
Good. We're so very grateful for your participation today. And for those who are listening and or watching, Jim Estep is one of the co-founders of E2 and a very good friend and brother of mine.
And we're about 50 hours from kickoff, so that's good.
Yeah, we're in this series this fall. The NFL season has kicked off. Games are being played. You know, the Colts, my team, Indianapolis Colts, we're off to a rough start.
Bears won. I just want to say, first game they won. We're happy.
Yeah,
call the season now. We're good.
Yeah, call it now. Absolutely. Put it out there on the headline of the newspaper. Yeah. Great. Well, Jim, in our book, an Elders Playbook, a practical guide to move your team forward. Tell us about one of your favorite plays from the book. If you were calling a play for the field, what right now our elders really need to do?
Well, one play that really does stand out, and it may be because I do a lot of church coaching. Mm-hmm. Or I'll go to a church because they've asked me to address a particular matter that's going on.
Yep.
But I remember going to one church, and I asked a very basic question. I said, well, tell me what's your average attendance? And the elders and the staff looked at one another and went, well, the numbers haven't looked very well for 2 years. So we just stopped taking attendance. And I said, well, what about, numbers in Sunday school? No, we don't keep any metrics whatsoever because we know things aren't good. That's like saying, I'm not going to stand on the scale, so I don't know I have to lose weight. And so the point is, my favorite play, one of them is number 25, the metrics of the local church.
Yes.
Because you have to be able to, if you're a leader, you have to know how you're doing.
Right, absolutely.
And it can't just be an emotional, subjective, I just feel things are going great here. Would you run your checkbook that way? Would you never reconcile your checkbook? The point being here, no, you need to check the numbers. You'd have to go in and make sure the balance is right. And many times churches, don't bother to even look at the numbers. In terms of attendance, for example.
Right.
Or number two, they only look at two. They have an underdeveloped dashboard, if you will. And those two numbers, they usually look at attendance and finances. And as long as those two look okay, they think everything in the church is going great. But there's more to a church than that. So my point is, it's the underuse or the lack of using dashboard metrics to measure the health of a church. And so in play 25, which you wrote, on play 25, there are a series of metrics that could be used and questions that if handled, let's say, quarterly or semi-annually or annually to get a more accurate, high-definition picture of the church's health. It's the difference between an X-ray and an MRI.
Right. Absolutely.
The more metrics you have, the more precise you can see the health of the church. And we have an upcoming event called Jumpstart, which focuses on 4 clusters of those dashboards. And of course, we produce the Jumpstart workbook that a congregation can get. And early on, it's simply dashboard items. Let's assess evangelism, discipleship, next generation, and leadership development.
Right.
And so it asks for numbers
in those 4 key areas.
And then there's some reflection exercises of going, what do the numbers really show?
Right.
And then when we look at that, where do we need to go now? So in other words, we're actually generating decisions based on data.
Right. Absolutely.
And that's the key, because this way the ministry, when you go, how are you doing? Well, let me tell you what our average attendance is. Now, by the way, here's the +1. This number of people are actually going to something other than worship. Here's the number of volunteers we have in our church. This was the number of new people we added last year. Here's the baptisms, the transfers. You actually have a better portrait. A better portrait. It's, okay, I teach statistics. If somebody says, Jim, how did your class do on the test? I can give them the average test score. Anybody can do that. But if you use statistics, you can run about 12 other numbers.
Right.
To really show how the class did.
Yes.
That's what we're talking about, is improving it. Now, why? Not because we want you to live in the numbers, but because in order to move forward, you have to know how your church is performing now and where it needs to improve so that it can advance and become healthier in the future.
Yes, absolutely. Yep. You know, it is of critical importance that the elder team develop a dashboard of metrics that fits them.
Yes.
You know, your vehicle that you drive, the vehicle that I drive, they both have dashboards, but they're entirely different from one another.
There may be some standard items.
Fuel gauge, odometer, speedometer, engine temperature, absolutely. But then there are some unique monitors. And every church must develop their dashboard of metrics. And they need to look at that dashboard. Absolutely.
Because if they don't, they're kind of driving blind. You know, they literally are. We're ready to go for this journey. Well, are you? When was the oil changed? You know, all those kind of great trip questions you start asking. Well, churches need to go, are we really ready to move forward? Well, let's look at all the numbers.
Well, and you know, in this season of COVID, a lot of conversation is taking place, you know, and I hear the statement, well, pre-COVID we were, and then they'll talk about the size of the church or the amount of the offering or the number of life groups that they had. They'll speak of pre-COVID. But again, a courageous, determined, intentional leader needs to be talking about life in COVID.
Right.
And talk about life post-COVID. Where are we going? And we cannot determine where we're going if we do not speak honestly about where we currently are as a church, and we need the metrics.
And you just raised something crucial. The old metrics that were used before COVID, during COVID, those metrics don't even apply.
Right.
You know, how many people are attending your physical worship service? Well, you've got to figure out how do you gauge online attendance? How do you gauge small group attendance if they're not actually gathering at people's houses?
Right.
So all the measurements, we have to create whole new dashboards to figure out how to do that.
Correct.
To get some kind of picture of how is our church performing under these conditions.
Yep. So measurement is important. Anybody who wants one of these workbooks, and again, it is a workbook. Everything is spelled out for you in the 4 key areas of ministry, that if you address these 4 key areas of ministry, evangelism, discipleship, the next generation, and developing leaders, you will jump start your ministry. If things are stalled right now because of COVID, get this workbook. Go to e2elders.org, click on our store, the E2 store, and order the workbook. It'll just walk you through a number of metrics that Jim developed in these 4 key areas, and you can, as a leadership team, develop your plan to jumpstart, to charge up ministry that continues moving. It's all about keeping the momentum going. Please do not right now just tread water. So many leaders right now are just treading water, waiting for COVID to get over it. Either we work right now, we need to be working as leaders, not waiting as leaders. Stop waiting, start working, move the church forward. And metrics, a program, a plan for, a dashboard for metrics is explained right here in our Elders Playbook, play number 25.
Absolutely.
Right. It's on sale right now during the series of podcasts, e2elders.org. Hey, Jim, enjoy the game this weekend.
I will.
All right.
We're 5-point favorites.
There you go. Talk to you later, buddy.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.